comments, and suggestions to the authority through the county's information technology. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the county's website. With that explanation, I will ask the board members to identify themselves and their current location in general terms as I call your name. Donna Price.
I am the Scottsville supervisor, and I am attending from my home.
Bill Fritz.
I'm attending from my home.
Liz Palmer.
I am attending from my home in Albemarle County.
Waldo Jaquith.
Attending from my home at Stony Point.
Just to confirm, Trevor Henry is not available today. And myself, I'm attending from my home up in Earlysville. So with that, I have established that we have a quorum, and I'll call this meeting to order. The first item we have on the agenda is to approve the agenda. There has been already a suggestion for at least one or two changes in the new business section. With regard to, currently we've got section A. Before section A, I'd like to have a discussion of a couple of items with regard to the next meeting, which is going to be on August 26th, which is also our annual meeting. So you have a little point or two of business to conduct there. And then with regard to the current section A, which is Coronavirus Relief Fund, I believe we'd like to have that in closed session. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. You're correct.
Any other changes to the agenda?
I would like to point out that the agenda, for whatever reason, is not currently available on the website, so people attending remotely are not able to know what the agenda is.
I just pulled it off the website a few minutes ago, Waldo.
It's there.
So I may have a cached copy of an earlier version that did not. This is just a notice of July 22nd regular meeting to be held in virtual format, but
Yeah.
Perhaps somebody visiting the site now will see something up to date.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, then. I'd like to move to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded.
Thank you. I'll do a quick roll call. Looks like we may have lost Donna. Donna, if you're on the call and can hear me, are you in favor of approving the agenda? Not there. Bill?
Aye.
Liz?
Yes.
Waldo?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. So we'll mark that down as approved. Mr. Secretary, are we correct in presuming that we don't have June 24th minutes because of the exigencies of your work have prevented you from accomplishing this vital task?
That is correct.
Well, we will look forward to reading them
You have them for the.
at a future time.
Yep.
And that brings us to the public comment section. Mike, do we have anyone who's indicated they'd like to make comments?
I'm typing a message in the chat for those people who would like to make their comment there. Please do.
I see a raised hand.
Oh, you do? Okay, good. Okay, Dan O'Day, would you like to post your comment in chat? And I'll read it into the record for you. Or the other option is I could allow Mr. O'Day to talk. I think I
Might
have
save
that
us some time.
I'll allow Mr. O'Day to talk. So Mr. O'Day, I have now unmuted you if you'd like to make your comment.
Great. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you state your name and your magisterial district, please? That'll help us.
Sure. So my name is Dan O'Day. I live on Green Creek Road. I'm not sure what district that is. I just want to start off by saying that I'm actually in the Yancey Community Center parking lot because this is the only place I get broadband. So thank you for making this available. Although I do look forward to not having to drive over here in the future. And so I have a request and then also a question. My request, which I think I just heard a little bit about, is that the minutes be posted in a more timely manner. Because I can, sorry, that's my child in the background.
That's the realities of our lives. You don't need to apologize.
Yeah, we're having a family party here in the parking lot. So the minutes are really easy for me to load at home, but I can't watch the old videos. So the minutes would be really helpful, though I do understand that it can be difficult to get them up. And then my question is, I'm at sort of the southern end of Green Creek Road, and talking to my neighbors, it seems like they're going to start construction towards that end. And I'm wondering if I'll be able to get service once the fiber gets to my house, or I have to wait until the fiber gets all the way to the northern terminus before we can connect it.
Mike, do you have any
Shall I take
insight
it
on that?
here? There's two options with this. The first is we have the CenturyLink representative as an attendee, and if it's approved by the board and Derek's willing, he has a standard answer to that question. I'd like to ask him to answer it if possible. Let's see if I can allow Derek to answer. Derek, if you'll introduce yourself, and then if you're willing to, or you can chat with me and say or not, but I'm pretty sure you're willing to answer this question. It was a question that came up during our informational sessions about the project. So Derek, are you on? Okay.
I am Derek Kelly, Government Affairs Director with CenturyLink, and typically with our fiber projects, for the most part, they will turn up at one time. So our Green Creek area would all turn up at one time. So even though the fiber may go past your house, until we actually get all the electronics turned up and get everything programmed, we sort of launch it section at a time. Some of the projects, we're in 8 areas of the county, but I think it's going to be a total of 13 projects. So a couple of them we have broken up into smaller projects, but for the most part, they'll turn up section at a time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Derek. Thanks for jumping in there. Appreciate it.
Are there any other public comments?
Yeah.
Well, seeing none and hearing none, I think we can move on to the old business.
I think it is lovely that we have so many people attending who are not
Absolutely.
here to provide comment. They just want to watch what we're doing. Thank you for coming, people.
Very good. Thank you, Waldo.
Bucky, just for everyone to be aware, Liz came in late on this, that Supervisor Price is actually on audio, but she's not on video. But if you look at attendees, Donna is listening to the discussion, but she's not able currently to be connected in terms of video. I just want you to be aware she is present from an audio standpoint.
Thank you very much, Rick.
And I see we just had a question come in, but typed.
Oh, is that in the chat?
Yeah, where can we find a listing of the
Yes.
CenturyLink projects around town? It's in Q&A,
Oh, in Q&A. I got you. Good one.
where questions go, of course.
Good question. I'll answer it live, Eric. Thanks for asking your question, Eric. If you go to www.albemarle.org/broadband, there's a button at the very top of that page, which provides you with the updated frequently asked questions for the CenturyLink projects. So if you have problems with that link, you can also email me at mculp@albemarle.org. But you'll find the listing of those projects in that frequently updated, thanks to Derek and others, updated frequently asked questions about the projects. So thanks for that question.
So I'm going to move on to old business item 5A, the VADI 2020, which is CenturyLink project status.
Yes.
Mike, you want to take it?
Glad to provide the update, Chair. I'm very happy to announce we finished our 5 informational sessions. So we had over 70 people participate from around the county and listen in while Derek and I bantered back and forth about things that CenturyLink is doing to make this project, this fiber project for the county, successful. 838 locations will be passed by, all before March of 2021. So we're on our way in a good spot, and I think we got a great reaction from the community. Of course, everyone wants everything to happen immediately, and so do we. So we're working our best to get that done. Well on schedule, not running into any problems. So that's my update for the CenturyLink 2020 VADI projects. Can I take any questions? Anybody have concerns from the board?
Mike, would you mind, just for the benefit of attendees, just enumerating real quick what the locations are that where CenturyLink is doing that work?
There's eight basic project locations. There's Watts Passage, which is up in the northern section. There's Buffalo Hills, which is also up in the northern section near Advanced Mills. And then in the southern section, we have projects going on in Hatton Ferry, Colesville Road, Scottsville Road, also going down all the way to Howardsville, and then Green Creek Road, sort of in the southwest part of the county. So lots of different areas, lots of great rural communities that will be served by this project. Very excited to get it going.
Thank you.
All right, moving on then to the VADI 2021 status.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Another update, just a brief one. We submitted the Broadband Authority. I submitted on behalf of the Broadband Authority the notice to apply. It was a requirement that DHCD. I have to mention again, every time I talk about VADI, I have to mention that this is a state program through the Department of Housing and Community Development, and we're very thankful for their efforts to make sure the rural areas of the Commonwealth are served. So the funding comes through the state. The Albemarle Board of Supervisors match, in some cases, the funding that the state gives. And then we have these successful projects. So just to point out, there's a contribution that comes from the state, a contribution provided through the Albemarle Board of Supervisors, and then the partner ISPs provide the service as well as their own monetary input to the projects. So 2021, unfortunately, I'll start with the bad news. Unfortunately, the original budget for VADI 2021 was 35 million. It dropped to 19. So we have 19 million at the Commonwealth level. Clearly, there is at least 20% more notices of intent. So that gives you an idea. Last year, we were fortunate to be in the top 12 of 48 applications that came through. So there were, clearly more than 30 applications that came through last year that were not funded. So we've been successful all 4 years of VADI. 2021 is going to be highly competitive. One of the reasons I say that is because there's 59 notices of intent. There's a couple of additions that have been brought forward in VADI 2021, which makes it difficult because we've been successful, meaning it's going to be more highly competitive for Albemarle this year because what they're looking for are a contiguous number of serviceable units. Applications will be scored higher based on the number of serviceable units that are either in total or in contingent come through in your application. So I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible, but our notice of intent is in there along with the other 56 plus. So we're going to continue to work on that. We've been fortunate in that more than one ISP has shown interest. So the next 3 weeks or so are going to be extremely busy for me and for all of us probably, depending on how those applications and things start rolling in.
Mike,
Any
how can we be of service to you in this regard?
That's a really great offer, Chair. I think it's one of the benefits of having done this 3 or 4 times. Well, this will be the 5th time. Is lots of great material. I think one of the have to make sure everyone awares, especially those people on the call, is none of this is possible without commitments from the communities. The communities have helped a lot. I'm not really answering your question. I think the best thing that's going to be that the Broadband Authority will be able to help me with is just all the administrative things that may have to happen. Typical things may be validating and making sure that the Broadband Authority's budget can be supported by the applicants or partnerships. That's usually where we get a little bit hung up, but I think we'll make it through. So I feel confident that when I come up with things that I need, I'm trusting everybody on the board will help me make sure I get those tasks completed. So
what's the submission deadline?
August 17th.
Is there any reason why we would want to expect to have a meeting prior to that?
Yes, good point. I like the question, and it entirely depends on the number of partners that come forward and indicate that they would like to partner with us. The reason that I say that is they're in that particular case, if we're dealing with one or more, well, if we're dealing with two or more potential partners, I think it's justified and recommended that the board of directors for the Broadband Authority go through each of those applicants' proposals and make strong determinations one way or another what the Broadband Authority will commit as match. In other words, we don't want to go forward and have one person make a determination on funding without multiple eyes looking through and understanding the request that's come in from the ISPs. I think I answered that question. So we would have to call a special session. We would.
My next question would be, would it make sense at this time to pencil in a meeting time so we can hold the spot against the need? And
Yes.
What would that date be? When would you, obviously not 3 weeks in advance, but is it, the Thursday before or over the weekend before or
Yeah,
when?
I'm checking my calendar just to, so the 17th is a Monday. It would have to be, we'd need to do it either Wednesday the 12th or Thursday the 13th or the 14th, just because of the timing perspective.
Right. So let me put it to the board members, and I'll poll you one at a time. Of the 12th, 13th, and 14th, which days would you be available? Donna?
She's,
Sorry, I apologize. I was trying to get to my calendar when you called my name.
That's all right.
So or the 14th would be better for me. I do have two other meetings, one of which neither one of which I can really change on the 13th.
Did you say the 12th or the 14th?
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Bill? You're muted, Bill.
You're muted.
I can only attend on the 14th.
Okay. Liz? You're muted too.
Give me the days one more time, Bucky.
The 12th, the 13th, or the 14th of August?
And this would be at 5 o'clock. Actually, the only 5 o'clock time I have right now is the 12th. I'd have to not show, if I did the 14th, I'd just have to be late for a meeting if we could get it done. I think I could make the 14th.
Okay, I'll pencil that down and we'll see what goes. Thank you.
Yeah, the 13th is actually harder.
Okay, it doesn't look like that's lining up for anyone so far, so you're okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Waldo?
I can do the 13th or the 14th. I'm in an all-day meeting on the 12th, which will be terrible.
Trevor's not here. I'm retired, so all these days are good for me. So with that said, let me propose the 14th as at 5 o'clock as something we just pencil into our calendars as a potential meeting time against reviewing and approving anything that needs to be done with this year's body submissions. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Okay,
Okay, what was the time? I'm sorry, what was the time?
We're going to stick with 5 o'clock unless that poses a grief.
No, it was just I had a gap in hearing during that time.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you.
that's quite all right. I'm sorry, Donna. Okay, Mike, back to you.
okay, so that was, I think, great to get that underway, and let's be optimistic that it will be a beneficial meeting. I think last year we had a similar meeting. So yes, I won't remind people what happened at that meeting, but we did come out with a great applicant. There's just one of our applicants fell off the plate at that final meeting before the deadline. Anyway, so what else do I have to say about VADI 2021?
You're going to reach out to us, and that's probably it.
That's probably it. Yes, sir. So if
Which
there's no
takes
other
us-
questions, we can move on.
Barring any questions, that takes us to the request for proposal status.
Okay, so the request for proposals closed on June 30th, and because of confidentiality needs through our procurement office, I'm not able to mention the submitters. I can say that we received 3 formal submittals as well as 3 informal submittals, either a no bid or this is what we plan to do with body, et cetera, et cetera. So in addition to the receipt of those proposals, a technology committee was formed, and we reviewed all of the materials and proposed a highly qualified vendor. In the process of doing that, the purchasing department agreed, and a case came up where, because of actions by the Board of Supervisors to allocate what are called coronavirus relief funds provided to the county through the CARES Act, there was a determination that it's possible that those funds could be utilized to support the proposal that came in as a highly qualified vendor. With that notice, we need to work on this in a confidential manner until we have what is called a notice of intent to award. So that's the reason for the closed session.
So we'll speak further about that later on.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, there's no point dancing around it now then.
You are correct. It's
All righty.
a bit of work that's required here.
Is that a signal that we're going to move on to the next topic?
That would be my signal for that, but did you have something you want to interject, Waldo?
Yes, I do. It's something that I mentioned in our little ad hoc committee to review the RFP, but that I think warrants mention when we're not in that closed session. And that's this. God bless Mike for coming to us earlier in the year and saying, you know, I have an idea. We should issue this RFP thing. We discussed it, we moved forward with it, and it turned out, just due to happenstance, that the timing was perfect relative to being able to move quickly to respond to really, really urgent needs, both educationally of getting kids able to actually participate in school remotely, and employment to be able to rapidly work on this. And then also relative to CARES Act funding on a federal level coming down to the state and becoming available to Albemarle County. If Mike had not come to us with that when he did and said, I have an idea, we would have been reacting to this now, and we could never possibly move fast enough to provide anybody with anything approaching timely benefits in the way of expanding broadband. I am really happy with how this has gone. I'll be able to say more about my happiness once we get this awarded and so on, or in closed session. But I just want to make real clear that we did something new, something novel, something a little bit risky, and I'm really happy with how it's gone. And I think we should all be very proud of how well that's gone. And I just want to offer here my sincere thanks to Mike for moving forward something nervy that I hope Albemarle and you get credit for on a statewide level for doing something that is not normal. You're not just applying for state or federal grants, doing a totally new thing, and it's going to do a lot of people a lot of good. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the encouragement from everybody. I appreciate that. Thanks for those comments.
Thank you for that, Waldo. As they say, fortune favors the prepared. So good time to be prepared. Mike, anything else on this, or can we move on?
Yeah, we may, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Then the updated broadband strategy plan, that's been around a couple of times for folks to look at and provide feedback to. I think the last version was circulated. Mike shared it with the folks at DHCD to get their comments. They came back with kind of one material comment, take out the 10.1 reference.
10.1 removal, right.
And otherwise, you know, sort of adjust as needed, I think was their further suggestion.
Yes, exactly. So we're in good shape. Great work, everybody, on getting that strategy plan together. And as we finalize, we'll post it for public view. It should be something that the public in general is able to view. So we'll get there.
Now, I'd just like to call up again for attendees to follow what we're discussing. This is a relatively high-level document about, like, why do we exist? What are we doing here? What are our goals? What are our criteria? and to make sure not just that it matches reality, but that we're shooting high. And I'm really glad we did that. And I think one of the best things that came out of the discussion last week that's reflected in the changes in this document was Trevor Henry saying, we say nothing about equity in this. We need to talk about equity because it's not enough to run a wire to the road in front of somebody's house and say, now you have an internet connection. That we can do more, and we need to do more like that, and that should be reflected in our goals. So I'm grateful to Trevor for bringing that up in the last meeting, and I'm really glad we were able to get that included in this document.
No, it's clearly a case where many people have created a better document than just one person could. With that said, I would like to formalize this as our strategy plan so that we can use it in body applications and use it ourselves as a driving item for us, accepting the edit that we can take out the nod to 10.1 as really something nobody thinks is sufficient, which would be my suggestion. We just make the technical editing that's required to take those references out. I'd like to propose this for a vote, unless there's further discussion on the strategy plan. Anyone have anything else they want to say about it, or anything else that needs to be added to it or taken away from it for that matter?
No, I think it's
The only
great.
question I might have is just raising the question, is this a strategy plan or a strategic plan?
I'm incapable of answering that question.
I didn't know there's a distinction. I'm learning something new, I guess.
Usually when you're talking about an organization developing a 5-year view of where it's going, you refer to that as a strategic plan. A strategy plan is basically how you're going to play a game and what the various strategies are going to be for it. So I'm prepared here is not a broadband strategy plan, but a strategic plan for ABBA.
I could live with that change.
Okay, I will move that we approve the updated broadband strategic plan.
Thank you, Liz. I'll second that. Let me do a roll call here and see if we can get this through. Donna?
Aye.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes?
Waldo?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. The motion carries. We have a broadband strategic plan. I'll edit it up with the minor changes we've just discussed and send that around for everyone to make sure I haven't dropped an I or a period or something like that somewhere. And then we'll get that posted. Fantastic. So that's gotten us all the way through old business. That takes us to new business. I guess maybe potentially not our next meeting now is the first thing on new business, but the next scheduled meeting is our annual meeting. And as we are always required to do at the annual meeting, we will elect officers for the organization. So I know personally, I think usually it's chairman that sees the most contests, but this year I think secretary will be the one everyone's going for. So I expect to see a lot of reshuffling of the deck and folks spreading their wings and trying new things. No holds barred, and I look forward to a very healthy discussion on that topic. We also have a sort of an obligation to review and renew our rules of procedure. I have found some things in the rules of procedure that I would like to see changed. Like Putin, it didn't seem clear that I could be chairman for life, so I wanted to fix, more specifically, I wanted to adapt what we're doing to the current environment that we're in. What the rules say about virtual meetings and those kinds of things, we need to catch up a little bit. And Richie has drafted a notice of a motion to amend the rules of procedure, and I'd like to turn the mic over to Mr. Deloria to introduce that.
All right, well, Bucky, thank you. And I can circulate the written notice, but according to our rules, if the rules of procedure are going to be changed at a meeting, we have to give 1 meeting's notice. And so this is the notice. I'll also just mention that our rules provide for the suspension of rules. So if someone comes up with another amendment or change that they want to discuss at the annual meeting, I think that could be circulated and we could suspend the rules, and hopefully we could do it all in one meeting rather than having to put it off. That being said, at any point along the way, if a member wants to change a rule at any time, we can give notice one meeting in advance, and so we can do it at the next meeting. This is a good time to do it just because at each meeting we always re-adopt the rules so that we don't have to go back over a full number of years of amendments trying to figure out what the rules say. So we adopt them every year, and so we have a fresh set of rules. That being said, this is the notice that at the next meeting, the August 26th annual meeting, that there has been proposed 3 amendments to the rules. So the first proposal is to amend the second rule, which deals with the attendance. And what we want to do is we want to add the provision that a member who remotely participates in a regular meeting by electronic communication is not deemed to be absent under this rule. Right now, if you attend because you have a business obligation out of town, or you have a personal matter that keeps you from the meeting, and also if you have a medical condition that keeps you from the meeting, if you participate by electronic communication, you would deem to be absent. And of course, there's a limited number of absences you can have in any year. So the plan is not to hold electronic participation against you. The other thing is a recognition that down the road, we hope that the General Assembly will kind of broaden the scope of electronic participation. I know generally speaking, it seems to be more convenient for people to be able, the public to be able to participate, but also for the members to be able to participate from home or some other remote location. So that's the first proposed amendment. The second one is an amendment to Rule 3, subsection F, which speaks to the terms of office. Right now, everyone it speaks to the terms of office of the officers. And so we have 4 officers, we have a chair, we have a vice chair, which Bucky pointed out the code doesn't speak to, but I think it's our prerogative to have a vice chair for obvious reasons. Also a secretary and a treasurer. What's not clear, particularly with the secretary and the treasurer, is they do not have to be members of the authority. If they are members of the authority, for that reason, it's a question as to whether if a member of the authority vacates office for any reason, whether that office as secretary or treasurer or even vice chair for that matter would continue past that vacation. So it's recommended and suggested that we amend it to say that the term of office of any authority member so serving shall end and be deemed vacated when the member's term ends or third authority membership is deemed vacated for any reason. So if there's a chair, vice chair, secretary, or treasurer, and that goes along with membership, if the membership on the board ends, then that office also would be vacated. And it doesn't mean that that person couldn't be later elected to be secretary or treasurer. I don't think they'd be eligible to be chair or vice chair, but certainly that would be an option down the road. The final suggested amendment, which is kind of just to anticipate the General Assembly broadening our authority to conduct electronic meetings, is essentially to proactively accept or adopt any of those changes. And so what's suggested in terms of remote electronic participation is the addition of a new section. It would be subsection F, and it would read that this Rule 8 is an adoption of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.2 subsection A and B, and is restated to fulfill the written policy requirement and for convenience. future amendments to this statutory provisions related to the conduct of meetings by remote electronic means are hereby incorporated mutatis mutandis, which is Latin for in full, without requiring formal action of the authority. And so what that would do is if the General Assembly says, hey, look, you guys can do electronic meetings, then we can do it. And those are the 3 suggested changes. So that would be on the agenda for the August 26th meeting. And also that is as Bucky said, that's the meeting where we elect officers for the next year. So to keep that all in mind. I would say if anyone has any other suggested changes to the rules, to just go ahead and shoot them off to me, and then I can circulate that. And if we get notice out, and hopefully we'll be able to take care of all those on the 26th.
Thank you very much, Richie.
When are those going to be sent out, Richie? Do you know?
I can send them out I can send those out today. And I just apologize. I had a late change and I was kind of in your boat, Bill.
Yep, I'm not gonna rattle you, Gage.
I'm not hiding the ball. I'll get those out to you right after this meeting.
That's fine.
Yep.
I just wanted to know if they were coming out, next week, week after, or something like that. That's all.
They'll come out this evening.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Is there anything else pertinent to the next meeting before we move on to a closed session? And given that we have nothing on the agenda after the closed session, I don't expect we'll come back. Well, we'll come back. We'll come out of closed session, but we don't have any other business scheduled after that. So for anyone else who's listening online. With that said, we need to go into a closed meeting. Mike, do you have that?
I do, Chair. I can read it into the record. Might take me a bit to find it.
Have it right available if you.
Oh, you do? Great. Okay.
Okay.
Please do.
I move that the Albemarle County Broadband Authority go into closed meeting as authorized by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia under subsection 6 to discuss and consider the investment of public funds for broadband deployment within the county where bargaining is involved and where, if made public initially, would adversely affect the financial interest of the county. Subsection 29, to discuss and consider the award of public contracts involving the expenditure of public funds and discussion of terms or scope of such contracts where discussions in an open session would adversely affect the authority's bargaining position or negotiating strategy. Subsection 33, to discuss and consider confidential proprietary information and trade secrets subject to the exclusion of subdivision 19 of the Virginia Code, section 2.2-3705.6, and subsection 39, to discuss and consider information subject to the inclusion in subdivision 3 of section 2.2-3705.6 related to economic development. Specifically, these discussions and considerations will pertain to CRF-2, a project involving the expenditure and investment of Federal CARES Act fund and confidential proprietary information related to broadband deployment in Albemarle County. End motion.
That feels like on NPR's What Do You Know? When they have an audience member read the disclaimer. It's like their long version of that.
Thank you, Liz. I'll second your motion. Let me, assuming there's no discussion, let me run down a roll call and collect everyone's votes. Donna?
Aye.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Waldo?
Yes.
Trevor's still not here, and I'll vote yes. So, Mike, would you make whatever technical adjustments we need to make to take us into a virtual closed session?
Yes, I'm reiterating what Waldo has said to everyone who attended. Thank you for taking time out and listening in to our Broadband Authority meeting. And again, it's the community effort that's making all this happen. So I really want to thank your involvement. and keep sending us broadband reports. So have a great evening, everybody. I'm going to remove you from the meeting, so it feels kind of weird, but
Yeah, it feels really rude.
yeah, it does.
It's weirder than throwing people out of a room, you know?
Yes, I was never a bouncer. I would never want to be one either. I'd let everybody in. You know what I mean? I'd be very ineffective. But anyway, I wonder if people keep joining back. I don't know if that's possible. I guess I have to keep a watch on this in order for it to be officially closed. Interesting.
Yeah. We have to.
Mike, I will be leaving since I'm not part of the board. I will leave.
Oh, you're welcome to stay. So I've never done this, so I'm wondering if this is I was successful with my first 8, but several others I'm unable to remove. So
Richie,
I think there's a, but I don't know what button it would be to prohibit people or to block the attendees.
yeah, exactly. Something like that.
Richie, in the attachments, there was no motion to come out of closed session, just FYI.
I actually have a copy of that.
Oh, I have a closed meeting certification. Yeah, I've got that.
Although,
Okay.
as Richie said earlier, the date is the 21st instead of the 22nd.
Oh, whoops. Hey, Bucky, I need to also say something. I have to leave at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay. I'll
Very
be
good.
quick. I will be quick.
What? Okay.
Okay. All right. So I've successfully done the work. It's just a pop-up was being hidden behind the main screen.
So if somebody joins, they're just in. There's no approval process, which means
Yeah,
theoretically
they're-
somebody could show up in the middle of our closed session.
Yeah, and then I have to quickly remove them. So I've got a dual role here, making sure we're continue to be in closed session. And
Wow.
if anyone, that's the way that the Zoom webinar is set in.
Well,
So I think that's on all of
for-
us to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
And for future meetings, perhaps if we're anticipating a closed session, we can set it up with a waiting room.
Right. Exactly. That was my mistake.
Lesson learned. Okay.
Yeah.
We're learning.
Yeah. So
Who has the floor for this closed session?
I do, I think. I'm sharing my screen so you guys can see a PowerPoint. I'm going to try to quickly go through it. So you should now see my preamble, right? Yes, I hope
Yes.
so. Okay. A lot of this is going to be small, so bear with me. Some of the text will be a little bit small. I've been working on this all day. So
Hey, Mike, one quick thing. Are you still recording or have you stopped?
I'm still recording. Thank you. Do I need to stop? I probably do.
Yes.
Okay, let me do that. I will do that quickly if I can rejoin the meeting.
Good catch, Richie.
Yeah, sorry, I'm working as fast as I can to, I think I might have to stop sharing in order to stop recording unless someone else.
That's okay, Mike. Just turn it off and then turn it back on again.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm nervous about Liz's time.
It's okay.
I'm working towards stop share. That's the only way you can stop recording.
Hey, Richie, while he's doing that, when you get a chance, will you forward me those, the opening and closing motions so I can just put that in the minutes?
Yes.